Hello and welcome to CX Today. My name is Charlie, and just today I am joined by Bradley Metrock, founder of Project Voice 2023. Bradley, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Charlie. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be part of the show.
Well, yeah, it's great to have you, and you're here primarily because I saw this fantastic graphic that you and your team have been working on, which kind of shows the landscape of the AI market. And I'm just going to put it on the screen now for everybody to take a quick little look at. Um, yeah, and I saw this was kind of getting a lot of traction online, and people really seem to love it. So I guess my first question for you would be kind of what inspired you to put this together and what do you hope businesses take from it?
Yeah. No, I mean it's a great question. We have had a lot of success with it. There's been a lot of interest in conversational AI generally that we've observed, even prior to the generative AI explosion, of which has heavy overlap with conversational AI. If you were to draw that Venn diagram, but the fact of the matter is that you know a lot of a lot of people we deal with, um, as educated in the market as they are, will ask us, well, there just aren't that many companies doing stuff with this, right? I mean, isn't it just like Alexa and Google, and then maybe like some random other companies like Nuance, but they got bought, and really there's not that much going on in this space. It's kind of all played out, isn't it? And we encountered that explicitly asked question or implicitly understood mindset with the conference we put on, which is the Project Voice, our namesake event and the main event in the US for all this stuff. We encounter it on the VC side with Project Voice Capital Partners. We encounter it everywhere. So I thought, you know what? We're going to solve this problem. We're going to create a visual that shows a broad swath of what we call the conversational AI universe, encompassing data oriented companies, data and annotation providers, encompassing security oriented conversational AI companies, encompassing companies like a Unifor or a OpenStream that have different, or Core AI that have large frameworks for this stuff. And then we'll drill down into some industry specific ones. We're going to include advocacy organizations, both on the agency side as well as on the nonprofit side. We're going to include ASR, NLP, NLU companies. We're going to include everybody. And when we did that, it was daunting, but we put it together, and now it's just very helpful to all sorts of people in and out of this technological domain to be able to visualize what this is.
Hmm. Yeah, I could imagine what a daunting prospect it would be because just of the breadth and depth that's in the industry, it's quite incredible once you actually dig beneath those companies that you were kind of mentioning first. You think Nuance or maybe an AWS, but then when you get below the surface, there's so much going on as everybody will be able to see within the graphic too. Um, but I think maybe, we've talked about a couple of the big names you mentioned, Core AI. I think they're Gartner's Magic Quadrant leader within conversational AI. Maybe could you share a couple of brands within this who are maybe unfamiliar to the audience, but are quite exciting you with their mission within the voice AI market?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. So
Okay.
there's companies. It was important to us to include companies that are brand new,
Mm.
all the way up to there's an entire quadrant of the visualization for big tech, where IBM and Amazon and Apple are in there, um, and we thought it was important to include a diversity of sizes of companies because the fact of the matter is, um, like Core AI is a great example. They have a good product. They have a good suite of products. They've done well, but they're one competitor away from not existing. And the map, if not anything else, should be a warning call to venture-backed startups, venture-backed companies throughout the domain that you're always at existential risk. If you had gone back prior to COVID starting, there was not nearly as much action, and I would describe it as kind of a vast blue ocean of opportunity. Now, it kind of is still a vast blue ocean of opportunity within conversational AI all across the board, but there's a lot more ships out there. It's kind of getting crowded. And so that's a point that I think has really hit home. I don't think, I know for a fact it's hit home with a lot of leadership teams that we've spoken to since we've released it, and as well as consulting groups have been all over it because they want to know who are all these players. But to answer your question, the you know I I'll point to two. Okay, the first one is we do a lot of work in support of something in the United States called the Open Voice Network. It's a nonprofit organization that was born out of the Linux Foundation that has the charter of identifying and advocating for the shared interests of conversational AI companies. John Stein runs it. He's a mastermind, but not as many people know about it as they should. That's one of the 400 organizations that's on the map. Another one I'll point to is called WealthVoice. So WealthVoice is uh, primarily a voice interaction service that started on Alexa and now is starting to branch out, that enables people to interact with their financial advisor or financial institution in some really interesting and innovative ways. It's created by Emily Bender, who's been around the financial sector for a long time, and also who is an excellent marketer. And so what she's put together is something that would sit below the surface of a lot of people who maybe observe the space at a distance. But to us, we know her well, and we know that that's something people should be paying attention to. So if someone were to deconstruct the landscape map, they would find all kinds of gems sort of throughout. And then when we get to Project Voice 2023 in April, we're going to have version 1.2 out, which will add another 100 plus companies to the visual, so much so that we're having to redesign it. So the space is growing.
Mm. Yeah, I think you've given a fantastic overview of the space there, and kind of really dug in some fantastic little nuggets there. And I'm going to maybe change the conversation a little bit now, because when I look at the fantastic graphic that you have, obviously the eye catches OpenAI now within there, and I'm sure you've got this question a lot recently. But how do you think ChatGPT and all the kind of excitement that's come around it has really changed things up within the voice AI industry?
Yeah, it's been significant. So, ChatGPT, um, I don't know how old you are. I'm sure I'm older than you, but basically, I've been around for some key inflection points in the intersection of technology and the consumer. Things such as the iPod, where or the beginning of the internet, the World Wide Web, where the utility involved is so great that it overcomes every objection, and it changes the way that society, in a large sense, thinks about what's possible. That's what ChatGPT has done. And it's done it with only chat as the modality. So as we were talking about prior, off camera, chat, voice, and text are all inextricably linked from this point forward. And there's already been people who have attached synthetic voice to ChatGPT. And I think there's a lot of interesting things there to come to sort of free it from just the written word into the spoken one. But it's impacted the world in two big ways. The first one I just described, it's changed our perspective. But the second one, for companies working in this domain specifically, and just tech workers more broadly, is it has rallied resources to conversational AI in a remarkable way. Investors are sitting up a little straighter and paying attention in a way that maybe they didn't before. Talented engineers are sitting up and paying attention to this space in a way they might not have before. It's attracting quality to the universe. And it's really hard to understate how important that is to things like the landscape map, because all it's going to do is make it, even more crowded in there as talent comes into the space and the competitiveness goes up. So those are the impacts it's had on in terms of short term, since it's been out.
Yeah, and I love that point as well because I think it's very relevant to kind of what we talk about in customer experience as well and how perspectives have changed. And instead of kind of seeing voice AI as something that, oh, maybe it's something we'll focus on today, it's ChatGPT has almost made it, it's made it incredibly relevant and people can see the potential it has already to change how they work. And I just think it's a fascinating space. And I'm sure that will come up a lot at your upcoming Project Voice 2023 event, where you and kind of a lot of other experts will delve into that and many other topics across the voice AI space. I don't know if you could maybe give us a quick rundown, maybe of the event, and what possible attendees could expect from it.
Yeah, so Project Voice 2023 is in late April. It's Monday, April 24th through Wednesday, the 26th in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's a little bit of a destination, but it's where we've done this conference back since 2016 when it used to be called the Alexa Conference. Big and small companies have gained business from it, and it always opens people's eyes. We'll have somewhere around 2,500 attendees and 100 media outlets there for it in April. And anybody who, from your audience's point of view, if you're thinking about customer experience, you are necessarily thinking about conversational AI. And with that being the case, if you're anywhere around, whether you're overseas, it doesn't really matter where you're at. You ought to take a good look because we're going to have a lot of companies coming in from overseas to participate. But, conversational AI is changing the way we execute on customer experience and satisfying customers, no matter what industry we're in. And it's really changing the paradigm of all that pretty rapidly, whether it is voice or chat or text or whatever it is. And so people coming to the conference can expect to get up to speed rapidly on a number of high-end providers, best-in-class people working in this universe. They'll be there. But on top of that, there's some headliner sessions, such as the reunion of the Siri co-founders for the first time in over a decade, the CEO of payments.com, which is a very well-known website, institution in the financial sector, Dr. Walter Greenleaf of Stanford University, who's been at the forefront of healthcare and technology for 30 years. There's some big time heavy hitter headliners that are at the front end of the conference. And then at the back end of the conference, we're going to have some international use cases for conversational AI that will be worth paying attention to, as well as some accessibility success stories. So there's a lot to be gained in 2.5 tight days of a program by attending. So people can check that out at projectvoice.ai.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, it sounds like a fantastic event, and fingers crossed I can be there as well to join. But what I'll also do is put a link in the description box of this video so people can quickly go to projectvoice.ai and check
Well,
out
kudos.
the agenda.
Yeah, I think we appreciate that. And kudos to you, Charlie, and your team, because, the content that you put out and the way you approach reporting on all of the different things that you have to cover under the subhead of CX. I just think you do a great job. So I'm honored to be part of your show, and I appreciate you giving us some of your spotlight.
Thanks. So yeah, that's really great to hear. Thanks, Bradley. And I mean, the work there's also that you're doing as well and putting the graphic together. I mean, as you said, must have been a daunting project. So I couldn't even imagine
It
getting
was.
started on that. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, the link to the event will be in the description box below. I'll also include a link to Bradley's graphic, if in case anybody wants to dig further into that. But I think for now, that's probably a great place to end today's conversation. But thank you very much for joining me today, Bradley.
Thank you, Charlie. Certainly appreciate it.
Excellent. And also, thank you to everybody for watching. Bye for now.